Yo, what up YouTube? This is just going to be a quick little guide on how to play Prot Warrior in the War Within Season 1. For specifically this guide is going to be for Mythic Plus playstyle. So first we're going to go over the talents here, which I'll include talents in the description. Really it's just the Wowhead build for Mountain Thane, Mythic Plus. But the main thing I actually want to go over in this video on how to play Prot Warrior, because obviously you got your shield block, you got your ignore pains, but I really want to go over Violent Outburst and how to play around this talent. So reading it consuming 30 rage grants a stack of Seeing Red, which transforms at 8 stacks into Violent Outburst, causing your next Shield Slam or Thunderclap to deal 200% increased damage, generate 100% more rage, and grant Ignore Pain. Now the big thing we want to pay attention to is the 200% increased Thunderclap damage. And of course, if you're playing Mountain Thane, you're going to be doing a lot of Thunderclap damage with Thunder Blast, and Thunder Blast is actually counted as Thunderclap on here. So first let's just build up some rage. So how I like to go into my pulls, I like to go into it with a charge and shield charge, which generates 60 rage. And if the pull's big enough, I will pop cooldowns like Avatar, Ravager, and Champion Spear just for a lot of damage very fast. Just a lot of burst damage. And you're going to be generating a lot of rage doing that. And you're just going to want to spam out Ignore Pains. You can actually stack Ignore Pain quite a few times. Because when you press it, it says up to 2.5 million total damage prevented. When you press it, it's not going to prevent 2.5 million total damage. It'll be more like 1 million. So if you can stack it a couple times to get it to that full amount. And as you're taking damage, of course, it's going to lower, and you keep pressing it over and over and over, which is going to generate you stacks of the Violent Outburst, actually. Every time you press Ignore Pain, which costs 35 rage, every time you press Shield Block, you're going to be generating stacks of Violent Outburst. And occasionally, pressing one Ignore Pain will grant you 2 stacks of Violent Outburst. And with Violent Outburst, you always want to use it on a Thunder Blast. If you don't have a Thunder Blast available and you have your proc, of course, you just use it on your Shield Slam and hit a really big Shield Slam. Especially in like 1 to 2 targets, but even in single target, if you have a Thunder Blast like procced up and you're about to hit the 8 stack Violent Outburst, you always just want to wait for that. So let's just go in here. Of course, I got a weak aura here showing the Seeing Red stacks. See, now I'm close to it. See, now I got it. Hit a Thunder Blast. And of course, between pulls, you're going to be generating these Thunder Blasts, and you see my avatar's down. So my next Violent Outburst is not going to have the Thunder Blast proc, but my next one is. So as you see, let's say we're about to go to another pack. Let's just spend some of our rage. Got it? Pop Avatar, Thunder Blast. Immediate huge damage on that. You just want to keep hitting out those Ignore Pains as fast as you can, along with Revenges. Sometimes you can get a little bit greedy and rage started with yourself, so try not to do that, because you still got to hit your block. But if you need quick rage, just hit a Demoralizing Shout. But of course, you should be using that anyways, just because of how much damage mitigation it gives you in an area of effect. You're just always going to want to spend your Seeing Red stacks on this Thunder Blast as much as you can. Got our cooldowns up again. Build our energy. Well, rage in our stacks. And you spend your avatar on your Seeing Red proc. As you see, I'm keeping up over 1 million DPS as a Prot Warrior because of how I'm spending my Seeing Red stacks. So basically, I was just going over how you should be using Seeing Red. It's very dynamic how you should be using it, because of course you're not always gonna have this many targets. Sometimes you're only gonna have a couple targets, so you spend it on a shield slam instead, or your cooldowns just don't quite like line up with it. But whenever you're like moving from another pack, or if you have a Thunder Blast and spare Rage to spin before you get your proc, you always want to, of course, save it for that Thunder Blast instead of immediately using it on your shield slam. And some other things I want to go over. So, of course, we have Spell Block. Historically, warriors have not been very good into casters, but Spell Block does give us a decent way to mitigate spell damage. And of course, Spell Reflection as well. So in certain like fights, if you want to, instead of interrupting a cast or stunning the mobs, you can actually just hit Spell Reflect and reflect the spells back and do a bunch of damage that way, which is very strong. Or if there's a lot of caster mobs, just hit a Spell Block, and of course keep your block up. And also on boss mechanics like swirlies, like to say swirly or a big circle that does magic damage, you can actually use your Spell Reflect. And it will reduce the amount of damage you take if you're not quick enough to get out of it. And if you know you're not going to get out of it, like if you don't have Heroic Leap or something, you could also Shield Wall it and combine it with Spell Reflect, which will significantly be reducing the damage you take on the bosses. If you mess up mechanics or something, it's very forgiving whenever you play it that way. Don't stand in it just because you know you can tank it. Always try and get out of it, of course. But yeah, I will be supplying my weak auras down in the description as well, specifically for... Let's just get them up here. So we have the shield block weak aura, we got the ignore pain, so it tells you how much duration you have left on it. So we have 8 seconds on our shield block, so you know when to use it. And you hit ignore pain, it's only ignoring 700k. Hit it again, 1.5 mil. Hit it again, 2.2 mil. Hit it again, and now you're at the cap of 2.5 million. And then on the left here we have our Seeing Red stacks, which changes into our Violent Outburst. So we have our stacks, it changes, it glows. Now that we have it, we know that we can spend it on a Avatar Thunder Blast for a lot of damage. So that's kind of like my short and messy guide on how to DPS mostly as a Prot warrior, because this isn't going over the mechanics of like the dungeons and stuff. That's for the people who have already made videos on that, so you can just look those up. But the main thing, I don't really use many add-ons, but you'll probably want Mythic Dungeon tools, which will show you the routes and the mobs and what they do. Although I don't have that installed right now, I don't think, but it's a good helpful tool to use. Yeah, that's about it.